Hi everyone, I welcome you all to my YouTube channel. So this is yet another video on the topic of construction management. You can check out the playlist of construction management in my channel, and I have made several videos related to tenders, related to contracts, for billing engineers. There are several videos, multiple videos. You can check them out, and those are all very practical videos, and they'll be helping you a lot to grow in your career as well as to learn in your career. So in this video we'll be talking about various types of contracts in the construction industry. I have taken 7 major types of contracts, and I believe that apart from these there are not majority of the contracts that are existing, although there will be, but significant are these ones, and in recent times you will only find these categories practically. Okay, so we'll be touching upon every type of contract listed here, 7 types of contracts. We'll be discussing the pros and cons, then detailed thing that what all contracts, what all documents are provided by the client, where the risk lies, everything we'll be touching upon practically. So without any delay, let's get started. Also, if you are new to the channel, I request you to subscribe to the channel, also like this video if you and stay tuned for many more videos also in the future. Okay, so the very first type of contract that we'll be studying is lump sum contract, which is also called as the fixed price contract. Why is it called fixed price? I'll be telling you very shortly. See, lump sum means nothing but some approximate amount, or some kind of, we say, some approximate figure. Okay, so what happens in this? See, what a contract document has several smaller documents like your general contract conditions, then your special contract conditions, then your tender drawings. Okay, then apart from that you have your specifications also, and then you also have your bill of quantities, which is called as BOQ. Okay, so depending on the type of contract, some or the other document from this might be missing in that particular contract. For example, in lump sum contract, BOQ will be missing. In design and build contract, most of these things will be missing. Okay, then in item rate contract, everything will be given by the client itself. Okay, so these are the types of documents. GCC and SCC is nothing but conditions which will be there in almost all type of contract documents. Tender drawings, whether the client will be giving detailed drawings or some very concept drawings, it will depend on the type of contract. Specifications, whether the client will be giving the makes and specifications of various items like which tile to be used, or which type of flooring to be used, which type of jointeries to be used. Bill of quantities is nothing but your very big document, maybe of 10,000 Excel rows or even more than that. It contains the description of the complete scope of work like RCC, PCC, shuttering, then MEP, then your finishing. Everything will be given in detail that this is the, let's say for shuttering, how will they give the BOQ? For shuttering, they will tell that for columns, this is the specification and this is the quantity. You have to put in your rates and then you have to multiply the quantity with the rates. Similarly, for staircase, they will give the shuttering quantity. Then for your core walls, they will be giving you the shuttering quantities. So nothing but the description of the items. It will cover the complete scope of work in the form of line items, and the respective quantities also will be worked out in the BOQ itself if the client is giving you a BOQ. Okay. So this is the basic which you should understand before we dive into the different types of contracts. Okay, so for lump sum contract, the thing is that the client will provide you the specifications, specs and drawings will be provided by client. Okay, the client will give you the specifications also and the drawings also, that this is how my complete facility should look like. Okay. Second thing is the BOQ is not provided by client. The client will not give you the BOQ. Now what will happen? See, how you have to quote in this type of contract. The client has given you the drawings that this is how my facilities should look like. What you have to do, you have to prepare your own BOQ. Okay, it depends on you whether you want to prepare the BOQ or no, but ultimately you will have to estimate your quantities. You will have to do your quantity takeoff. So what you will do, first you will understand the complete drawings. There will be many number of drawings, architectural drawings, your structural drawings, your MEP drawings, finishing drawings, everything will be there. Okay, so you have to understand the types of drawings, then you have to come up with the quantity takeoff, that this is my item, like this is my RCC, this is the subcategories of RCC, this is my PCC, this is the subcategories of PCC, this is my formwork, this is the subcategories of formwork, and so on. For every item you have to come up with the different types of items. Like RCC will be this part for this. Like for example, if I say flooring, then for flooring you will have to come up with like tiles in this particular area of this specification. Okay, then maybe let's say what type of tiles, again you'll have to give the specifications. Then maybe marbles in this particular part. Okay, so you have to come up with all the line items in the entire scope. Suppose if you are making one G+10 building, then everywhere the different types of tiles, different types of marbles are there, you have to define that in the flooring. Similarly, wherever the PCC is there, you have to define every type of item of PCC inside the PCC part. Similarly, for formwork, wherever there is formwork, different types of formwork you have to assign inside the formwork, and you have to mention the quantities also. Since the client is not giving you the BOQ, you will have to yourself define these items, and you have to yourself come to the quantities, that my RCC for this item is this much, my formwork for staircase is this much, my formwork for core walls is this much, the number of tiles for this particular is this much square meter and all. So you have to define everything yourself only. Now after defining all this, after taking out the quantities, you have to define the rates also. Like for this particular item, let's say for your let's take the example of excavation. Okay, the very first thing that you have to do at site is excavation only, no? So let's take the example of excavation. So suppose one line item inside the excavation is that you have to do the excavation using manual or mechanical means. You can use manual technique also, or you can use your excavator also. Okay, from in ordinary soil. What type of soil is there in ordinary soil? And depth is given as, let's say, 0 to 1.5 meter, then 1.5 to 3.5 meter. The quantity for 1.5 meter is, let's say, 1000 meter cube, and for this, let's say, it's 2000 meter cube. Then depending on this quantity, you have to put in the rates also. This you have only figured out because the client has not given you the BOQ. Now you have to put the rates also. So after putting the rates and multiplying with the quantities, you will come up to an amount. Adding all the amounts in excavation, RCC, PCC, MEP, finishing, your testing and commissioning, you will find one particular figure that you have to quote. Let's say your cost is coming as 100 crores. Okay, then this will be the number that you will be quoting. You don't have to quote the individual rates. The client will only be interested in knowing this final figure, and based on this figure, if you are at the lowest figure and you are satisfying all the eligibility criteria, then the client will award the contract to you, in this case of lump sum contract. Okay, so the contractors have to quote only single lump sum figure based on your analysis. You will have to do the rate analysis, that this much quantity will be done by me in this particular rate. For example, you write maybe 150 rupees per meter cube, or here you write, let's say, 160 rupees per meter cube. You have to do your own analysis. You have to see that how many dumpers will be required, how many excavators you will require, how many laborers you will require, like the drivers of the dumpers, or some operators or some helpers to clean the buckets of the excavator and all. Then you have to also decide the wages of the labor that you will be giving. Okay, then you have to also decide the fuel that you will be consuming, the power that you will be consuming, the lubricants, the oil, everything. You have to do a detailed analysis, and then you have to quote this. In case you are not doing it yourself, you are employing some subcontractor for this, then you have to take the quotations from those subcontractors, and then you have to quote these rates. But the client will not be interested in these different rates. He will only be interested in the final figure that will come by multiplying these quantities with your rates. Okay, so next point is, see, if your quantities change, like for example, you thought that the excavation quantity for 0 to 1.5 meters is 1000 meter cube, you did this quantity takeoff, but ultimately when you worked out, it came out to be 1500 meter cube. So will you be paid by the client for this difference of 500 meter cube? No, because the risk, every risk was there with the contractor in calculating the quantities. The client has not given you these quantities, you are responsible for your quantities. If there is any error in the calculation of the quantity than the actual one, then you will have to bear the extra cost of this 500 meter cube. So this is very important in lump sum contract. The risk of quantities and all lies with the contractor and not with the client. The client is free of all those risks. Okay. Next thing is, if there is a change in, let's say, customs duty, or let's say some statutory wages of laborers change, or there is some law that is coming into picture, then in that particular case the rates can be modified. Okay, the client will pay you all those extra amount that are applicable because of the change in the custom duty or the statutory wages. Okay, so next point is, the owner pays the lump sum amount only. If you have quoted 100 crore rupees, then you are only payable 100 crore rupees, no matter how much money you are spending. If you are spending 110 also, if you are going in loss also, then also you will be paid 100 crores only, until and unless there is any scope change by the client. If the client says no, initially you quoted for G+10 building, now the client wants one more floor to be added and it has become G+11. So whatever will be the extra cost because of this floor addition, that will be paid by the client. But if there is no change in scope and you are yourself facing any losses because of your own mistakes during the tendering stage, then you will have to face the consequences yourself only. Okay, next point is, the quantities are calculated by yourself, so you will bear that I already told you. Any increase or decrease in the quantity will be at the risk of the contractor only. Okay, so now moving on to the second type of contract. So I hope you understood why it's called a lump sum contract, because you have to quote only one lump sum figure in this. Second is item rate contract. Now see, why it's called item rate, I'll tell you. See, in this type of contract, first of all, the client will give you everything, the specs, specifications, drawings, then your BOQs, everything is given by the client. So there is no risk with the contractor at all, because if there is any calculation or error in the quantities, then the client will pay you everything. If it's increased, then he will pay you. If it's decreased, then he can take away from you also. Okay. Second thing is, quantities exist in the BOQ. So what you have to do is, suppose this is the BOQ, like excavation example only I am taking now. Suppose excavation is there, 0 to 1.5 meter, then 1.5 to 3 meters. The quantities are given by the client that it's 1000 meter cube and this is, let's say, 2000 meter cube. What you have to do is, you have to quote the rates. The client will give you the complete Excel BOQ or maybe online one, whatever it is. So you have to quote these rates, that for me it's 150 and it's 160 rupees per meter cube. You have to quote these rates and you have to multiply the quantity with the rates. But ultimately the client will be interested in these rates of every item, like for PCC every item, your RCC every item, then your MEP different, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, ELV, everything different item rates the client will be requiring from you. Okay, so that is why it is called as an item rate contract. You don't have to quote the final figure. Ultimately you will have to tell them that this is my final contract value or maybe the tendered value, but the rates will be the most important part here, and BOQ will be followed for the payment also. Okay, so next point is that any changes in the design or specifications or quantities will be there. The client will be paying you the complete quantities also, complete amount for change in quantity. For example, 0 to 1.5 meter excavation was 1000 meter cube, but now when you worked out, it turned out to be 1500 meter cube. So this additional 500 meter cube will be paid to you by the client based on your quoted rate only. You have quoted 150 rupees no per meter cube, so this additional will be paid as per the final quantity, but they will check, they will measure whether you have really executed 1500 or you have executed 1000 only or 800. If you execute 800 meter cube, then the client will pay you based on 800 meter cube. This much amount the client will pay you. Okay, I hope this part is clear to you. So the billing and all will be done based on these line items only. Whatever will be the actual quantity, you will be paid based on that actual quantity multiplied by your quoted rate. So here in this particular case, there is a very huge importance of the billing engineers. The billing engineers are much required because every month you will be billing to the client that this month we have done this much of the quantity of earthwork, this much quantity of PCC, you pay us based on the quoted rates. Okay, but whereas in lump sum contract, what happens is that you will be paid based on the milestone. Let's say the client will say, when you complete 10% of the work, I will pay you 5% of the amount, or when you will complete the ground floor, then I will release the 30% of the payment, or let's say when you will complete the terrace, then I will pay you 70% of the work, and then finally when you will hand over the facility and after the completion of the defect liability period, I will pay you complete 100% of the amount. So in lump sum it will be based on the milestone payment, and billing engineers are not at all required. But here in the case of item rate, billing engineers are very much in demand, because every month you will have to raise your running accounts bill based on your BOQs. You have to submit your BOQs to the client along with the executed quantities. The client will every time measure these quantities, and then only the client will certify or sign that particular bill. Okay, now coming to the next part, which is nothing but your percentage rate contract. Percentage rate contract, again the name suggests, see, first of all the client will provide you everything, the specifications, the drawings, the BOQs also. Along with this, he will also give you the rates of each item in the BOQ. Earlier in item rate, you had to yourself finalize your rate, but in this case the client will give you that this is the estimated rate for me. For example, again I am taking excavation, that's 0 to 1.5 meter, 1000 meter cube quantity, and the client will say that for me the rate is 70 rupees per meter cube. This is his estimated rate based on his calculations. Similarly, 1.5 to 3 meter, 2000 meter cube, he will say that for me the rate is 100 rupees per meter cube. This is the client's rate that he has given in the BOQ itself. But you have to say no, for me it's not 70, it's 150. Okay, this is client or owner, this is contractor. For this you will say no, for me it's 160 meter cube and nothing wrong in that. If the client is able to do it in 100 rupees, doesn't matter that you will also be able to do it in 100 rupees per meter cube, because of your own conditions, your own equipment's availability, and your own capabilities of your organization. Okay, so what you have to do in this particular case, you have to work your own rates and you have to come up to your amount. Let's say the client says, for me the contract value is 70 crore rupees. This is the client's estimate. You will say no, for me it is coming as 100 crore rupees. This is the contractor's estimate. Okay, so you will quote this as the percentage. Let's say the client has said that my estimate is 100 crore rupees, and you are telling that my estimate is, let's say, 80 crore rupees. Okay, this will be easier for you to understand. So your amount is 20 crore rupees lesser than the client's estimate. So you will quote as minus 20%. So only the client will be interested in this particular thing. That's it. Client will be interested in knowing only your percentage. Now let's say instead of 80 crore rupees, your estimate is 120 crore rupees. Then you will have to quote plus 20%. Okay, so client will be only interested in knowing your percentage for the complete contract value. That's it. See, now for the billing, again the billing engineers will be required in this type of contract, because billing will be done based on the item wise only. If the quantity will be changing, then you will be paid as per the actual executed quantity, just like in the item rate contract. The only difference is that here the rates will also be given by the client, and you have to quote the percentage, not the amount. You don't have to quote as 120 crore rupees. You have to quote as plus 20%, plus 30%, minus 10%, and based on that only the client will choose the lowest bidder who satisfies all the eligibility criteria. Okay, then again the additional quantities and all will also be paid by the client to you, whatever extra you will be doing. And see, in this type of contract what happens is the client is giving you the rates also, quantities also, so the client has to do a lot of work at the back end. So this is only adopted by the big organizations or the government organizations who have good funds, because they have to employ the quantity surveyors also, they have to employ the architects, designers and structural engineers, everyone they have to employ, because drawings also they will be giving to you, quantities also they will be giving to you. Similarly, cost estimators will also be employed by the client, because they also have to do the cost analysis. Okay, so this is usually this type of contract is engaged by the big organizations or the government clients who have lot of money or lot of funds. Okay, now moving on to the next type of contract, which is your cost plus percentage contract. Cost plus percentage contract. Now see, first of all, let me tell you that this type of contract is again preferred by rich clients or private clients who have a lot of money, hell lot of money. Okay, so what happens in this, the client will say that you don't need to estimate anything, I also don't need to estimate anything. Okay, what you do is you just start your work based on some basic drawings and all. The client may be giving you all the drawings and all. You start your work, and whatever amount you want to spend, you just spend. But I want my facility to be delivered within this particular time frame. You complete your work, whatever actual cost you will have. No, suppose the entire facility the contractor does in 70 crore rupees. You do the work, this is the cost. I will give you some profit over your cost, let's say 10 crores or maybe 10%. It might be percentage also, it might be a fixed number also. So whatever actual cost the contractor will have in completing that particular project, you will get reimbursed with all the cost, but I will give you some profit also along with the cost. So that is why cost plus percentage. Some percentage of the profit I will give you over your actual cost. So what the contractor will have to do, contractor will have to submit the bills, that this is my P&M bill, plant and machinery bill for the month of, let's say, November 2023. I incurred 8 crore rupees. This is the cost, pure cost. So client will pay you 8 crore rupees. Along with that, some percentage which is decided 10%, he will also pay you some 10%, like 0.8 crore rupees. He will pay you along with the cost in every bill. If you raise the bill of, let's say, overheads, that these are my overheads for this month, suppose overheads are coming as 5 crores, the client will pay you overheads also. Along with that, 0.5 crores, 0.5 crores of your profit also. Okay, so this is what is meant by cost plus percentage contract. Since the client is giving you whatever amount you are spending, irrespective of any estimate, the client has not asked you to prepare an estimate and all, he just finalized one good contractor and he's ready to pay him whatever cost he's spending. Okay, so again, this type of contract is adopted when the time frame is very restricted with the client, to allow the contractor, even the contractor is not making any estimate prior to starting the work, nor the client is doing any kind of estimate from his end. Okay, so I hope you understood this concept also. And see, one more thing is, this is done when scope is not clear. You don't know the scope also. You don't know that how much quantities will be executed. Might be possible that there is some project where the scope is unclear. Then in that particular case, he might go for cost plus percentage contract. Okay. So next type of contract is design and build contract. Very important type of contract. Now see, the complete responsibility lies with the contractor here. What happens? The contractor takes all the responsibility of design, execution, planning, etc. Everything is done by contractor. What client gives is nothing but some basic concept drawings. Right, this is the concept, this is how I want my final facility to look like. In depth he won't be telling you, you will have to prepare your own drawings. This is given by the client. So contractor has to engage one design architect, and again all the designers, structural engineers, a design team, and the contractor has to himself prepare all the drawings, everything. BOQ also the contractor has to prepare. Also BOQ is also not provided by the client. So what the client will say that I want my facility to look something like this. You do your own analysis, you make your drawings also, then you get those drawings approved by me. I will say the client wants to approve those drawings which are prepared by the contractor. Then you prepare your BOQ also, you take off your quantities also, everything you do, I will just pay you. Okay, and how will I pay? Again, it depends whether it's a design and build item rate. Again, he will categorize it as item rate or lump sum. Because of the payment only he is doing this. If it's item rate, he will pay you monthly based on your quantities executed. If it's lump sum, then he will pay you based on milestones, that after completion of 10% of work, I will release this much payment. After completion of ground floor, I will release this much payment. All those milestones he will set in case of lump sum. But in item rate, he will pay you item wise based on your BOQ. In this case, you have to get your BOQ also approved from the client, that this is my final BOQ which is coming. But the quantities, if they are changing at the end of the project, so they will pay you, the client will pay you based on your quantities only. Okay, so I hope this is clear to you. Again, in this particular case, there is one thing, that there will be no conflicts between the designer and the contractor, because the designer is not appointed by the client. Okay, but just like in item rate, here the designer is appointed by the contractor himself. So there will be no conflict cases between the designers and the contractors. So I hope this part is clear to you. Now coming on to the next type of contract, which is nothing but your turnkey contract. Turnkey, or also called as EPC contract. What is EPC? Engineering, procurement and construction. So here the client gives all the responsibility to the contracting agency, like surveying and then drawings. Full drawings responsibility is with the contractor. Then your specifications, then your procurement, then your planning, everything responsibility is with the contractor. No responsibility is with the client. Client won't take any headache in this type of contract. The client only prepares one document. Okay, the client prepares one document. He will tell his requirements. I want my facility something like this. Just some basic format he will give, that this is my requirement. This should be there. This should not be there. This should be there. That's it. Okay, based on this format of this document, the contractor does everything and he will submit a proposal to the client. This is a client and this is a contractor. Okay, so client will say that these are my requirements. Contractor will say okay, fine, I will submit one proposal where he will tell that okay, this is how my proposal is, that I will make this and this way and this and this way, some approximate cost analysis he will do, and he will submit it to the client. Based on all the proposals that the client has received, he will select the best proposal, not just on the basis of cost but on different criterias. He will select the best proposal and he will award the contract to one particular contractor based on his own desires, okay, based on cost also. Okay, so the contractor will prepare the BOQ also, he will prepare the drawings also, everything he will prepare. And mostly these contracts are type of lump sum contracts. That means the payments will be done on the basis of your milestones only, that you complete the first floor, I will pay you 10% of the payment, you complete your 7th floor, I will pay you 70% of the payment, something like that. Okay, so I hope this part is also clear to you. But here the responsibility is totally in the contractor's hands. Next is your management contract. So management contract is nothing but a type of contract where, suppose this is one client, what he will do, this client will appoint one managing contractor. He is one managing contractor. Okay. Now this managing contractor will understand the complete scope of work that the client is wishing to do. This managing contractor will help in identifying the small subcontractors for the complete work. Okay, so the work will not be given to one contractor. Instead, he will just manage. He is just a manager. He is not executing the work himself. But you can just understand that most of the responsibilities of the client he has taken himself now. Now he is responsible for managing the subcontractors, identifying the subcontractors and getting the work from them. So he will be just an assistant to the client, you can understand in this particular way. Okay. But designer also will be hired by managing contractor only, along with client. Like client will help definitely. They have to identify one designer also who will give all the drawings and all the complete layouts also. Okay, so this is what a management contract is, where a client hires some particular assistant kind of person to manage his complete project. So I hope this is clear to you all. Thank you everyone. So this is all about the different types of contracts. You can check out my other videos on this channel also. Thank you everyone.